Hello, it's Leslie here today. I thought I'd show you a project I've been working on for a few months, and that is to try and get a different ratio 12 speed cassette in Campagnolo, because the smallest Campagnolo selling is I think 11 to 29, and I think they also sell 1132 and 1134. And those for me are kind of ridiculous. They're more like mountain range cassettes for what I'm used to. So I like the Campagnolo 12 speed stuff, most of it anyway. I'm not keen on the cassette ratios. So I decided to just get some of the parts. Like here's the derailleur, the Super Record derailleur 12 speed one that I have ready to go. And I wanted to try and make my own 12 speed cassette. Now it's kind of a bit strange because they've actually got rid of 4 cassettes that I've used in the past, being like a 21 tooth cassette, that's gone, the 23 is gone, the 25 tooth cassette's gone, and even the 27 tooth cassette's gone. So they've got rid of 4 very popular cassettes. And I think it's a big mistake. So anyway, I went out and bought a Mish cassette, and I'll show you here real quick. You know, I bought some separate cogs here, steel cogs, and I tried to make my own 12 speed one with different spacing, but it was a bit of a failure because those cogs aren't, these steel cogs aren't, they're not all machined all that well. And then I used these kind of spaces with them, and I was playing around with trying to get this cassette to work with 12 on the free hub. And originally I didn't do my calculations very well, and I thought I needed 1.8 millimeter spaces, I think it was, or 1.85 millimeter ones that I could get. This is a popular spacer, and that turned out to be wrong. And it's because if you look at the cog, the cog at the base is thicker than at the top. So when you've got the chain at the top, you get a little bit more space between the other cogs. You know, you've got another cog sitting next to it, and so the chain really only has to fit between the cogs up here. It doesn't have to fit down here. So I bought some spaces for nothing basically anyway. So, and then I went ahead and bought some 1.6 millimeter spaces, I thought, and they ended up not being right either. And I was ready to abandon the whole project. I was ready to just say, you know what, I'm just going to buy the 1229 Recon cassette, you know, and I thought, forget it, it's just too hard box. But then what I did was I bought myself a Mish Primato Super Type cassette, and they're machined a little bit better, and also I think they are a little bit thicker. I'm not sure, but anyway, I tried to play around with the Mish Super Type cassette, and actually I thought I'll give it one more shot because it was getting very close with these spaces, but these turned out to be thicker than they should have been. So I thought I'll give it one more shot, and I ordered some 1.5 millimeter spaces. So this was the third set of spaces that I'd ordered, and I'll show you. And here's the result. Where is it? Here it is here. So here's my cassette. My this is a 12 speed. This is a 1223 straight block. Woo! So I also did some other strange modifications, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But as I was doing this, just as I was doing this, the new Ekar group came out. The 13-speed Ekar group came out. And when I was having a bit of trouble because on the steel cassette, the chain was just a little bit too tight if you wrap the chain around. Anyway, I got myself I got myself an Eccar 13-speed chain because this is the narrowest chain. Previously, I only had, I think it was a KMC and some other brand, I can't remember, 12-speed. And the KMC one is, I think it's 5.2 or 5.25 millimeters thick. The Campagnolo one was 5.1 or something around there, don't quote me. Anyway, this one is very narrow. It's the narrowest chain probably in existence right now. And this is 4.9 millimeters. So, if you're using this chain, like this cassette looks very spaced, like they're very close together. If you have a look at it, it's just crazy. But the chain actually fits nicely. If you look at it, the chain fits, you know, nicely in all the combinations. So that's one thing that helped me, was the chain a thinner chain. Also, I'm using a Rolf Prima Vigor wheel set, and they told me you'll need to upgrade to, even for 11 speed, I think it was, I don't even know. They said you'll need to upgrade your 10-speed hub to an 11 speed, and they give you a new axle, and they give you, and they say you need to redish your wheel. Anyway, so I took a look at these free hubs, and I noticed that they were made of two parts. There was the titanium part, and then there was this shiny, more silvery aluminium part. So the titanium's grey, this is more silver. So these are pressed on, and I saw it, and I even saw where one of these little end stops, this is the end stop where the nucleus goes and then the cogs go on. So I saw that it was a bit dented, and I thought that's press fit on there, so I'm gonna pop that off, and I put the thing in a vise, and I got those off. So what I did was I made my own spacer, which was a bit, sorry. With Rolf, when you go with the 11-speed kit, you get the axle, as I said, and a new free hub. Now, so the weird thing is the stopper for the 11-speed free hub was actually thicker than the 10-speed one. So my original idea was to swap them over and get a little 1 millimeter extra, but I just decided to get rid of them altogether because the grooves in the nucleus in the free hub, the grooves are machined a little bit past where they need to be. So what I did then was I used these two spacers from a Mish cassette. That gives me about 3.2 millimeters there, whereas this thing, one of these is usually 4 and the other one's 5, so I gained another millimeter there. And also I'm using an 11-speed lock ring on a 12-speed cog, so you can see it's actually recessed, which I thought was kind of clever. And so I'll just pause this again. I have something to show you. So I obviously bought the cogs I needed, 12 of them, to get the right ratios. With the 23, the last one seems to be a bit, it's machined thicker, and it's sort of offset. So with this inbuilt 23, it didn't really work. The spacing was a bit too thick, so I just got a normal 23. 23 that it's not dished, that cog. So the basic ratios, I think the best ones that I've come up with are 12 to 23, and here's a 12-27, and this is not actually spaced correctly because I only bought 10 of those spaces, but I have another 10 spaces on the way. So this will be spaced closer together, but this will be how the 12-27 will look. And this is a 12, 20, 11, 21. I also have it lying around, but that's not a 12 speed. So I think the best ratios are this 1227. This comes with, there's only 2 tooth gaps, and it has the 18 tooth. So it's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 23, 25, and 27. This straight block is just, as I said, straight block. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And the 25, you can then also have the 18 tooth. I don't have the 25 here because I haven't got 3 cassettes, but I will probably be getting one because they don't last very long. That one you'll be able to get down to 11 tooth, so you'll be able to get 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, have the 18, and then 19, 21, 23, and 25. So, yeah, as I said, the 23 last position cog is a little bit different to the 25 and the 27, being a bit, I think it has actually come from a 10-speed cassette. Anyway, I'm really happy because I think it's going to work, although I haven't built up the whole bike yet with this setup. The chain fits, you know, the wheel fits in the frame, and it even fits, believe it or not, but I've actually got mounted the 12-speed cassette to a 10-speed wheel, which isn't supposed to be possible, but there you go. So originally I was going to have to redish this wheel because it was way off with the new axle and the new free hub. So what I've done is I actually gone back to the 10-speed one because it does fit. And now I don't think I have to redish this wheel anymore, which is kind of handy because this wheel, I used it has internal nipples, and I used a special rim strip which is made of silk, and I glued it on there so that I was going to have to remove that. So now I don't have to remove that. The only thing is I probably have to file this because the cassette rubs on this tiny flange around here. I don't have to. I could put a spacer in here, a washer, but I think it'll be better if I can remove 1 or 2 millimeters from this thing carefully. Wish me luck, because then I won't have to redish my wheel, and that's what I'm going to do, because then, yeah, it saves me a lot of extra work, and I'll have a properly dished wheel that's not any wider than it needs to be. So yeah, wish me luck on the filing job, because it's an expensive wheel set, so I'll have to take a file to it, and I'm not sure how to do it so that I can do it evenly and nicely. But I think the good news is that, yeah, I think you can have a 12-speed cassette that's less than 29 teeth, and I don't think it's going to hit the spokes, the rear derailleur. It can't, because I'm using the exact same. Here's the 25. Here's the last position 25. I'm using the exact same cog, and it didn't hit before. So that's good news. And the last 12 teeth cog just fits on the end, so it works really nicely. Yeah, I think the whole reason they're doing that way, forcing the cassettes bigger than they need to be, is I think they're going to try and push a 1-speed drivetrain on everybody in the near future. They'll put this they'll follow the mountain bike way of doing things. They always do, and I think it's unfortunate, because it's nice to have a close ratio cassette. It makes you go a little bit faster. You don't lose momentum going up and down hilly rides. You have more gears where you actually need them. That is assuming you're not going up like 10 or 15% gradients or whatever. I think it was a bit silly of Campagnolo as well, because they could have sold you 2 or 3 different cassettes. This is what I've realized when I was living in Spain, that the needs of people living in different geographic places, they're different. So if you're living in a hilly place, you need a mountain range cassette, and if you're living in the Netherlands or something, you don't want that. So they could have sold 2 or 3 cassettes to one person. But ultimately, I didn't really like the 12-speed Campagnolo cassettes because they're all steel, I think. They look ugly, they're the wrong ratio, and they're $400 or $500 or whatever crazy. So they've gone backwards, if you ask me. But it's more, for me, it's more about the ratios. I don't want to be using ratios that they tell me. I want to be using ones that I like, that I know I like. I'm going to start with the 1227 and hopefully get fitter and move to the 1223. That is if it works, but I think it's going to work. Yeah. I was always one of these people as well that would choose, if there was 2 choices of cassettes, say there was 11 to 25 or 12 to 25, I would always choose the 11 to 25 because I thought, well, it's got more range. But now looking at it, I see that you lose one of the cogs in the middle. So now I'm doing the opposite. I'd rather have the more closely spaced cogs, as I don't use the 11 much. That might be alright if you're going downhill, down mountains, but where I live now, there are no mountains, so I prefer to have a closely spaced thing. Well, anyway, so that's what I have today. The 12-speed straight block, which is pretty unusual, but I think it's going to work. You might also be wondering, oh, well, are these spaced a little bit closer together than on the than the Campagnolo's one? Yes, it might be true, but then I might be able to adjust where the gear cable mounts to and move it up or down a little bit and alter the throw of the derailleur. So I think I can get around that if that is a problem. Anyway, I'm really happy with this one because when I had this when I used the official last position mesh cog, the last cog was spaced out too far, but as you can see, they're nicely spaced now. The only one which is a bit gappy is this last 12 position one, because this has come from an 11 speed, but I might be able to even grind that down 0.1 or 0.2 millimeters and get it exact. So that's the other thing that I'm planning on maybe doing, and just have it perfect. But that involves me grinding it, and then there's no going back to an 11 speed cassette after I do that. So I'll probably just put this on and see if it works first, and then do some grinding. But anyway, I have to go and file my wheel now, so wish me luck. And that's all I have for you today, but thanks for watching. Bye.